it wasn't such a collaborative approach. And so when I would come home from these meetings or quarterly business reviews with my peers, I would journal about my experiences. And I would think, I'm going to use this one day.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, a podcast that empowers everyday women like you, like me, to share and learn from life's mentor moments. I am your host, Rani Alfers, and in each episode, you will meet inspiring women that understand the power of recognizing mentor moments and how those moments can change it all. These fabulous women are here and ready to share it all with you. So let's dive in. Hey everyone, today's guest is Holly Caplan. She is a Louisiana native, so I feel some love for her already, and so will you because she's dropping so many wonderful tips and mentor moments today. Most importantly, about confidence. We all need to hear about confidence. We all need to be reminded of it. And she has some great ideas on reinventing yourself from where you are now to where you want to be. So tune in, meet Holly, and be sure to catch up with her podcast, Talking Confidence, on all your podcast platforms. You're going to love it. Here we go. Holly Caplan, thank you so much for joining us today on Working Women Mentor. How are you?
Good. I'm just glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you. We're very excited to learn more about you and all the mentorship and everything that you have going on. So, for our guests listening today, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Like you, I'm a Louisiana girl. Born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Went back and forth to and from New Orleans and went into pharmaceutical for my career. Ended up in medical device and in a management role, and ultimately wrote a book about it. I'll share a little bit with you on that later if you like, but brought me to my next steps in my career, which was to become a confidence coach for women who wanted to reinvent themselves.
I love this. There's so much about that that's interesting to me. To start with one interesting fact, you're from Louisiana. I
Yeah.
love that. But confidence in women and workplace and your book. Okay, I know the title of your book, but let's share it because I want everyone to read it. So tell me about the book and then
Okay.
we're going to work backwards.
Okay. Let's go with the book.
Let's go with the
The
book.
name of the book is called Surviving the Dick Click, A Girl's Guide to Surviving the Male-Dominated Corporate World.
Love it. Love it. Sounds like the next movie coming soon to us. Has anybody bought your movie rights yet?
No, but I always envision Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake for some reason. That's just a pipe dream, though.
That's a shout out to anyone
That's
that's
a
listening.
shout out.
Netflix. This thing is for sale. You had the idea of this book. So many people have ideas and topics they think they want to write about. But what was it that really was driving you to publish it and really pull the curtain back from the workplace you were in?
I'm glad you asked that question because that was a process. I was the only woman in management from 2007 until 2017. So for 10 years, I sat at the boardroom table with a bunch of men, bunch of great men, bunch of super, super people. But I noticed that our interactions were different. Tone was different in meetings. It wasn't such a collaborative approach. And so when I would come home from these meetings or quarterly business reviews with my peers, I would journal about my experiences. And I would think, I'm going to use this one day. And then ultimately, I had a book because I had all my journal entries completed. And I thought, if I don't write about my experiences, I don't think I'm going to help anything else change. And I knew that I had to publish it. And I mulled over the name of it for a while. People said, don't name it that. No one's going to buy that. And I was like, fine, whatever you guys think, you think. I wrote it, published it, and then the Harvey Weinstein thing happened right after. And then I had a lot of validation and a lot of awareness.
Did you find that interaction that you had between the boardroom, for example, and I love that you say in supermen, like this is not anti-men, right? This
No.
is
Oh,
this
no.
is really highlighting the differences between communication styles. We all know that already. There are differences in
Totally.
communication for men and women. But
Yeah.
you really shine that light from the boardroom to how to actually feel good about it and navigate it and accept it and understand, just like almost even in relationships, there's communication difference. What was the bridge between those 2 points where you were sitting there unable to do it, and then now you can actually advise people and you help people do this?
I think it's when I began to drown. I had gotten to such a bad place and I felt like I couldn't come up for air anymore. And I had lost my authentic self. I know that is is an overused word, but I had lost myself. And that's when I knew I had to write it. I'm like, I'm here and it's because of these things. And I know it. So that was my bridge. And that was my defining moment.
It sounds very therapeutic for you.
Yeah, it was therapeutic. It was therapeutic.
Well,
Yeah.
and the therapy is helping many more women out there today. So you've taken that experience and now teaching others and helping other women with their confidence in the workplace and in life in general. I have to be honest, when you say a confidence coach, that's such a new term to me. So, I mean, I love it, but like I've never even thought about that area that there is someone like you that can help with this. It's
Right.
not therapy, it's not anything else. And so, how did you become to specialize in this area?
Because when I came out of that situation, I didn't have any confidence and I didn't know how to start over. So I had to hire a coach to help me put things in perspective and help remind me of all of the wonderful things I had done and what I had still to offer. And I realized that I wasn't alone. A lot of women were having the same issues with their confidence, beginning with things like imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs, which I talk about and do workshops on, and I still suffer with today. That was my lead into confidence and creating some awareness around the topic, especially for women.
What does confidence mean to you? Are we talking personal confidence, professional? How would you describe confidence?
Believing in yourself. It's
Mhm.
about having conviction about who you are emotionally, physically, and mentally. And when you lose that, it can be daunting.
It also sounds like it's a process and it
Yeah.
is something that we have to practice.
Yes. Yes,
So,
it's very true because it's easy because you have peaks and valleys of confidence. Like today, I've had a good day. Yesterday, I felt a little overwhelmed and less confident, but it's normal. The trick is trying to keep it as high as possible.
and you came from a very low spot, a low place, and you're now not. Do you find that just over the last couple of years, maybe even with what we've been going through with pandemic and of course the great resignation and all these changes in our workplace, has that confidence issue shifted during this time? Are you seeing any different?
Not really any difference. No real difference. The commonality, sadly, is fear. It's fear of doing something different. And that's what can cause inertia and cause you to feel blocked. And it happened pre COVID and it's happening now. Difference is now is you have to. Back then, 2017, 2018, it wasn't a thing. It was your choice. Now you're, oh shit, I better catch up. I better overcome my fear and know that I can keep moving. That's what I'm seeing.
Is that in itself creative pressure?
Yeah, it's additional pressure because you know that our landscape has changed.
When you're thinking of your clients, what are some tips that you can give the women listening out there who are struggling with confidence or are starting to realize that they are not their authentic self in whatever it is that they are doing?
I have a couple of things there. The first one is if you don't feel like your authentic self in what you're doing, think about who you were when you were 8, 9 years old. Think about what was important to you. Think about what you considered special. Who were your friends? Because when you go back to that age, you find out who you are before all the shit in your life happened. And when I think back, when I was that young, I knew I wanted to be an advocate for women. I have no idea why. It was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to help women. It was something that was innate. If you reach back to that time, you'll find what you loved doing and what was genuine. As far as confidence goes, this is what I have all of my clients do. It's called text 5 friends. You text 5 of your friends and you ask them to share with you 5 words that they would use to describe you. Maybe special, smart, thoughtful, courageous. And when you see that text come in from your friend with those 5 words, you're going to feel a lift in your confidence immediately. And again, it's going to remind you of who you are. And what you'll find is that the women that you reach out to for those 5 texts will request the same thing back of you. And that's nice because you're giving at the same time.
That is really a brilliant tip because you're giving, you're receiving. I love that you say that it's how they see you. And sometimes you don't see yourself in the same light.
No, we're harder on ourselves. Sometimes you need that reminder that your friends see you as smart and supportive and kind and thoughtful and all the things that you really are.
Well, speaking of one words, I'm going to throw some words out at you because you are able to help in many areas of our lives. And so when I say setting boundaries, what would you say to that?
Love it. Set boundaries. We don't do enough of that. That is one of my workshops, and I love it because we as women don't set them and it
Mm,
makes our lives harder. But there are ways to set boundaries to make your life easier.
they do help, don't they? And even just learning to set boundaries is helpful.
It's important for us to set boundaries around our time and energy And I'll give you an example. This is work related. I decided to not answer my phone after 5 p.m., period. I won't. But in my previous life, I would. And I would let whatever that phone call was or the situation was get to me and ruin my evening. No more. That's a boundary. So if you're in the middle of stirring pasta over your stove and you can see your boss is calling and it's 6:30, there's no reason to answer it. Just don't. That's a boundary. That's just an example. We have to set them to get our time and ourselves back. And it's totally okay. You do not have to apologize for doing it.
If I say imposter syndrome, where would you begin?
Oh gosh, that's a complicated topic. And so many of us have it. I would say the majority of women that I work with have what's called imposter syndrome. And that is the belief that you are not good enough or worthy for things in your life. You are worried that you're a fraud or you will be found out. And those feelings come from social interactions with other people. We are not born with imposter syndrome. So in my programs, I help individuals overcome those feelings of being an imposter because they're not. You don't have to tell yourself the lies. You can tell yourself the truth.
Personal reinvention. This is a specialty of yours.
I love this one. Yes, burn it down and start over.
Burn it down. I love that.
Burn it down. Throw the Molotov cocktail over your shoulder and burn it down and start over. And I love that topic because I love helping women focus themselves on what they want to do next. That's something I really enjoy seeing and watching them reinvent themselves and evolve into something new.
And you have actually a workshop designed around this, your second act workshop, which I think is so interesting because there are so many people right now in our economy going to their second act, whether it's age, whether it's interest based, whether it's dreaming big, whether it's, hey, now it's the time to take a chance. I mean, that is what is happening right now. So, what does a second act look like for most women that come to you?
A lot of women that come to me are in their 40s or 50s and they are ready to do something different. Maybe they don't want to be in accounting anymore, be in research and development or whatever they've been doing and they want to do something different, but they don't know how to get started. They're ready for their second act, but they don't know how to extract out their skills and their experiences and help them translate into their next steps. So that's what we focus on. And we talk about making a list of things that they would love to do. Then we vet them out and then we put them into action.
I'm curious, do you stay along with the women throughout this entire process?
Yeah, I have a couple of different programs. One is 8 weeks and the other one is 12, depending on how long you want to work with me. But I want to make sure that they have liftoff, that they're ready to roll by the time we're done.
So you are their mentor along the
I'm
way
their
in that category. What would your mentor moment be that you want to share with the women listening?
I thought about that. I thought about that last night. And I've got a lot of great mentors that I have followed throughout my life, but my number one is my mother. The reason is because in the 70s, which dates me way back to then, she was a stay-at-home mom until I was about 8 years old. Then she decided to go back to work. She got into real estate. And she was one of the only women at that time in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in real estate. And I watched her study for her MLS degree. I watched her hustle. I watched her list houses. I watched her work weekends. And that was modeling for me. She was doing what she loved to do. And I thought, I'm going to do the same thing. So I think that's where my gut and chutzpah, if you will, comes from.
From your mom.
Hmm.
Did she just wake up one day and reinvent herself from stay at home mom to now she wants to be a real estate agent? I sense some reinvention in her as well.
That's a good question, Rainey. And I wish I would have asked her that. I don't know. And I think I was too young to recognize her process. But
Mm,
that's a really good question, especially someone she's almost 80 now, who's from that time frame. Was it
mhm.
something that women were really doing yet? I would love to know.
So, if you see that modeling perspective come, how do you take that into your life now with your daughter?
Thank you for asking that question. I love that question. I do the same. And I try to teach her the same things that my mom taught me. Is that you have to get out there and kick ass. You have to get out there and be your authentic self. You have to get out there and prove that you're talented and you're terrific at what you're doing and believe in yourself. Because I want her to have all of the same rewards and confidence at the same time. I will tell her she can do anything. Yeah.
She can do anything. And those are such great
Yeah.
words to hear at any age, first of all, but at a young age to remind you that you can do what you want. Don't set a limit.
No, don't set a limit. No. I want
Mhm.
her to do the best she can in university and travel and experience life and do things I didn't get to do either. I want her to take it to the next level.
We always want more for our kids, don't
We
we?
do. We do.
Does she know about your journey with leaving the medical device industry and leaving that world? I'm assuming at her age, right, she's understanding how you're helping women and men. You help everyone. But does she see that journey for you?
Absolutely, she sees it.
Mm,
She totally sees it, Rainey, and she wants to read my book. I'm like, "No, you can read it when you're, like, 18, but until then, you can't read it."
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny, but I hear her copying what I'm saying, and it's funny because 'cause I've even caught her in here in my guest room/podcast slash podcast studio acting out things that we talk about. So, yeah, she's paying attention.
She's definitely paying attention. Kids are sponges, but so are the people around you. You've made an effort to surround yourself with women, with professionals, and with people that are growing and that want to look at life a little bit differently and not always in the box that they're in. How did you define your way of thinking to say that I'm no longer going to be in the box? I'm no longer going to be this person I was as a professional. Now I'm going to be here because, yes, it's confidence, but what else is there about you that allows you to be so bold as to get out of the box and do what you're doing now?
It took time. I'm not gonna lie, it took time because you have to learn to let go of your past, and you have to be ready to face the future, and I will tell you that I had a bridge into becoming a confidence coach. I started my process, my certification, and all that before I got out of corporate America because I knew I would need some cushion before I did this, and I recommend that for anybody. And the beautiful thing about that time frame in which I had that bridge was that it allowed me the time to really look in the rearview mirror and say, "It's okay, that's in my past, and I'm building my future." So it was good for me mentally, emotionally, and professionally.
You gave yourself permission.
Yeah, gave myself permission.
And you seem to also give others permission as well. Your words are very positive and encouraging and helpful because it does take time to get really anywhere. It takes time to grow, but it's how you also spend that time, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And so many women come to me and they're like, "I want to make changes right now, right now." I'm like, "Slow down. Just slow down. Take a deep breath. You don't have to. It's one thing at a time. And I promise you, you will be more successful if you approach it that way."
I'm curious if you've worked with any women that come to you and say, I don't actually want to reinvent myself. What I want to do is be better at what I'm doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have a client like that right now, and she just wants to hone in on what is meaningful to her. She doesn't need to reinvent herself. She wants to be better at what she's doing now. So we have reviewed her professional and personal past, and we're extracting out again what's at her core and what fulfills her so she can keep going.
And that's very interesting because it's a range of not always reinventing and do something new. It's actually tapping back into who you are and what you want to do now. There's so many life changes. Someone might be even retiring and leaving what they've done for 30 years. And now it's now what,
Yeah.
right?
Now
What does
what?
life look like now for me?
Yeah, it's reshaping. You got to reshape yourself and welcome it and know it's okay.
And it's okay. It takes
Yes,
time and it's going to be okay.
absolutely.
Holly, I love that you're able to identify characteristics that we can't see in ourselves. That is a brilliant talent of yours. Where can we find you and where can we find your book and where can we find your workshops and everything that you have going on?
Oh my gosh, so many questions. HollyCaplan.com. It's just Holly, Holy, Kaplan with the CAPLAN.com. You can find information on my one on one coaching, my workshops, my podcast called Talking Confidence. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on that LinkedIn all the time under my name. I think I'm the only one actually. So those are the best ways to get connected with me.
I love it. Holly, thank you so much for joining us today. You've given us some really great information and reminders on confidence, letting go, and being present, really being present to find who you are. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I hope you'll walk away feeling inspired and are thinking of how a mentor moment can help you or someone you know. In case you haven't hit the follow button to subscribe to this show, please do so. And if you love the episode, I'd really appreciate a review. You see, this review helps Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you're listening to us on know that other women just like you want to learn about the show, and it'll help us spread the word.
Let's connect on Instagram at Working Women Mentor or at Rani Alfers. You can find all episodes online at ranialfers.com/podcast and the ability to send an audiogram of your favorite mentor moments. And we respond to everyone. I truly can't wait to hear from you. Check back weekly for new episodes, and cheers until the next episode.